Is the White House nodding it to Mr. Poole's account by posting this photo that was posted back in 2022? Can any of you guys explain this? Because this is the exact same photo. There is no differences here to this photo other than maybe the contrast to it, but it's exactly the same, and it was posted 3 years apart. And Mr. Poole's account has been notorious for posting a lot of riddles as well too, along with BG123, and the banner says checkmate. Now, the paperwork is done, the signatures are sealed. GESARA is not some future plan, it's live. For months, they've been running parallel systems, ISO 222, cross-border settlements, tokenized assets. Now the alignment is locked. This isn't about laws being passed, it's about contracts being enforced. Debt ceilings have been shattered, but notice the IMF is staying silent. Central banks liquidate assets, but notice the media pretends nothing is happening. Behind the silent, closed doors, debt forgiveness protocols initiate, wealth redistribution cycles begins, and the chains that held entire nations broken. GESARA is not a promise, it's a ledger already running, and the grand reveal is coming soon. Now that brings me to this clip right here, because I thought this was really interesting, and you guys need to hear these clips from this specific video redacted posted about a week ago.
Yes, the White House admitting this week, on the record, by the way, that we possess the technology to manipulate time and space. In other words, time travel, teleportation technology, like the very same technology that was used to make MH370, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, disappear in thin air on camera. And by the way, the people that are like, oh, that video's been debunked. Shut up. No, it hasn't. In fact, it's been the opposite. It's been bunked. It's not been debunked. And the man who helped really uncover the story from the beginning is Ashton Forbes, one of our favorite guests here on the show. I call him a physicist because he is. I want to play this first soundbite from General Quast. Now, he worked in Colorado training individuals, and he saw this technology basically, I think, on the desks of Air Force engineers in the United States Air Force. And it was basically admitting that we have these incredible technologies that allows us to teleport, transport in ways that you wouldn't blow your mind. So let me just play a few seconds of this. Watch this one.
The technology is on the engineering benches today, but most Americans and most in Congress have not had time to really look deeply at what's going on here. But I've had the benefit of 33 years of studying and becoming friends with these engineers and these scientists. This technology can be built today with technology that is not developmental to deliver any human being from any place on planet Earth to any other place in less than an hour, to deliver Wi-Fi from space where you never need a cell tower to connect.
And then this just happened over the past 48 hours. Trump White House official of science and technology policy director Michael Kriatzos said that we possess the technology that can manipulate time and space. Watch.
Our passenger planes are slower than they used to be. Our trains crawl compared to those in other parts of the world. Our cars do not fly. Advances have not stopped, but something has gone wrong. Stagnation was a choice. We have weighed down our builders and innovators. The well-intentioned regulatory regime of the 1970s became an ever-tightening ratchet, first hampering America's ability to become a net energy exporter and then making it harder and harder to build. We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity.
He's admitting that we allowed our technology to sort of purposefully stagnate. So would you say that maybe the same technologies that he's talking about is what allowed the United States government to disappear MH370?
Yeah, definitely. And what we're talking about here is technology that you can find a lot of videos of engineers talking about this. That zero-point energy technology is an echelon above anything that we have conventionally right now. So even nukes are completely obsolete in face of this level of technology. And you'll hear people talking about this all over the place. So you can imagine a lot of scenarios where with this type of technology, you know, the United States government is uncontested in the world. And this explains why nobody has really actually tried to challenge us on the global stage for, you know, almost an entire century at this point. And some people say, well, if these are out there, could other countries have figured it out? Yes, I think there's a shadow arms race And I think this overlaps with the UFO community where they say that, this might be UFO tech or whatever, and then Russia and China are working on this. This is what scares me the most about this is that, if two warring factions get this level of technology, the science on display here that I want to go through with you today, it has the capability of producing not just a wormhole, but actually a black hole, like annihilation of the entire planet, maybe even the entire solar system. It's just a matter of scale. And what you realize from these videos and the science related to them is that physics, the universe is scale invariant. Stuff that you can do on the small level, small scale, you can also do on the large scale. Those orbs that you see there, they are mimicking atoms. It looks like an atom. It's a positively charged plasma center with electrons that you can see as green as a shell around it. You can even see the shell of the electrons move fluidly when they start to spin around the plane because of the magnetic field they're producing around the plane. It's just wild when you look at it and you can see all of that detail from that. UFOs are real. There are things flying around that people do not understand. It doesn't necessarily mean it's aliens, though. Here's the secret. After I dug into it as an investigator, the answer to the question of how this is all possible is negative energy. The wormhole itself, if you're traveling through it, there's no time that's passing, no matter where the opening and the closing is. And if you follow the principle of least action, this would mean that there's never going to be any passage of time while you're traveling through the wormhole. And if you then put one more restriction and say that the mouth of the wormhole cannot move, it can only be in one spot, as in it opens and closes and it's not there anymore. If you make those two restrictions, it's no longer possible to go back in time. Reverse causality is no longer possible, no matter how you look at it. You'll always, even if you go through a portal, go through a different portal, you'll never show up at a time before you started the process. So my opinion right now, having dug into the physics, is that there is no way for you to actually go back to a previous time in the universe. But you can actually travel in time. Time travel is 100% real. You can do two different things, which I think are extremely significant. You can travel to the future, number one. You can slow your rate of time so that everything else looks like it's speeding up around you to such a degree where you could go 100 years in the future. All of a sudden, it's 100 years in the future, and you're like, whoa, how did that happen? It would be extremely disorienting, but you could do it. The other thing you could do is you could reverse your biological process. You could put a bubble around yourself and reverse the entropy of inside the bubble, which is you and your age, and you could reverse your age. And before you ask me, would you remember that? I actually asked Navy engineer Salvatore Pais this question. His opinion is you would still remember, because his belief is your consciousness is stored in the 0-point energy, not in your body is just a receiver.
Now, here's an interesting perspective based on what they just talked about. A lot of people a long time ago that just drove horses had no clue what cars were until Henry Ford came into the picture and he created the assembly line. And now everyone drives a car. No one rides a horse on the road anymore unless you're, a police officer that's doing it for show. But at this point, nobody believed back then that planes are possible. And at this point, look how many people fly in planes. Nobody believed that it'd be possible to listen to somebody else through a computer screen, let alone your phone that you're probably watching this video at and listening to while you're driving your car right now, yet it's possible. And so when we discuss stuff like time travel, it's no different. A lot of people think that it's impossible. It's the same situation right now. Now imagine, the crypto market, okay, blockchain technology, the ISO standard, what's coming later this year, let alone over the next 10 years. Imagine you're invested into XRP, and in just a decade, the world follows along with the flow of the inevitable. Well, what is that inevitable? Well, listen to what Larry Fink said in this interview with CNBC right here.
As a huge believer of crypto and blockchain and tokenization, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks.
So what does that mean, the tokenization, not only bonds and stocks, but crypto, everything on chain? Look at this right here. We have untokenized assets and we have tokenized assets right here. You are right here at about $200 billion tokenized, whereas 1.64 quadrillion has the potential to be tokenized on chain. And Ripple is diving full force in to facilitate that. They have the most connections and partnerships in the whole entire crypto space. through the World Bank, the IMF, the Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, the Rockefeller Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you name it, guys. The list goes on and on. You know, I could sit here and list all these companies off, but all you have to do is go back to the videos over the past 2 years and discover the documents through our channel that we've uncovered for you. And now CME is launching XRP futures. So real institutional adoption is taking place behind closed doors, and you guys just get to see the snippet of it taking place. They're laying the road work, just like how they had to lay the road work for cars to drive on because horses used to walk on dirt road. They didn't need asphalt. Well, when cars were created, it was a combination of dirt roads that cars would drive on. Then they built asphalt roads when they needed to create freeways. They had to lay more concrete. And so the concrete, so to speak, and the asphalt of the banking industry has been laid, and it's almost ready for XRP to hit the freeway. CME is the king of Bitcoin futures. Now XRP is next. And whether Brad Garlinghouse's position at Ripple is organic and he's the best person to fit the role, or he's just a plant after he worked at AOL and Yahoo and now he's planted at Ripple, is up for you guys to decide. But nonetheless, listen to this right here.
Markets like Japan, I think, are still unlocking. The market opportunity here is massive. You have trillions of dollars flowing cross-border globally. It's still largely dominated by the SWIFT network, if you will. And you know, that's architecture, that's a technology architecture that was developed 50 years ago. There's an opportunity to modernize. That takes time, particularly when you have a government in the U.S. kind of combating that innovation. But that's changing now. The Trump effect, if you will, is profound. You're seeing that in asset prices, but you're also going to see that in the adoption of these technologies.
Yeah, and I think, so when you're looking at the growth story then of Ripple, does it still come from overseas? Or are you expecting a change in terms of domestic interest in Ripple?
Well, we're definitely already seeing a change in the domestic interest. The 6 weeks after President Trump was elected, we signed more deals in the United States than we had in the previous 6 months. So these are very innovative technologies. I think they're going to play out over 10, even 20 years in terms of how they integrate and rewire the financial infrastructure of the United States. That's across payments. That's across even the settlement of maybe real estate transactions, securities transactions. So I think we're going to see this play out over a long arc. But the United States is finally unlocked, and I think people are underestimating how big that change is, and you'll see that continue to play out this year.
So what Amazon did to the e-commerce industry, what Uber and Lyft did to the taxi cab industry, what Airbnb did to the hotel industry, Ripple is doing to the cross-border payments market.